Greetings and welcome to Ghosts Are Near, where we discuss and explore paranormal phenomena. I am your host, Keith Johnson, the co-founder of New England Anomalies Research. Now please join me for part 2 of highlights from the 2016 Ocean State Paracon, which was held at the Assembly Theater in Harrisville, Rhode Island. The event, of course, is organized by Ken DaCosta of Rise Up Paranormal. We'll continue with a Q&A session featuring members of the Perron family, Roger Perron and his 2 daughters, Andrea and Nancy, and they lived through the true story of The Conjuring.
Ocean State Paracon, yay!
I also want to make mention, too, that Rise Up Paranormal, one of the foremost investigative teams in the country, as far as I'm concerned, was invited to investigate the farm. Ghost Hunters was invited to investigate the farm. And I just, I wanted, and there were a number of other teams that were invited. In fact, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who, the night that season 2, episode 7 aired, called me and said, "I think your house is on TV." And I said, no. I didn't know anything about it because the current owner didn't tell me that she had invited them and that it was, going to be. But she was very enthusiastic about the haunting of the house, and in fact even went so far as to say that that was one of the reasons that compelled her to buy it, was because she was fascinated with its reputation. So I just want to have that on record because a lot of things have come out that I have not really had an opportunity to rebut recently. But the fact of the matter is that she did a 180 on this subject 2 to 3 days after The Conjuring came out, and basically blamed all of her woes on myself and my family after that point. So this will all come out in the wash, and my father is absolutely right. This is very close to being over. So let's all just take a deep breath, shed that negative energy, and know that the most important thing is that this happened to our family. I waited 30 years to tell our story because we had to be ready to share it. The world had to be ready to hear it. I'm not retracting a single word of it. And I appreciate everyone that stands beside us. Our para community is deep and wide and bright and beautiful. And I appreciate everyone who has stood up for us during some trying times recently. Thank you very much for that. If Dad's man enough to apologize for last year, I'm woman enough to apologize for last year. And none of you have ever heard me raise my voice like that before. I was pretty ticked off. And thank you for not filming it and putting it on the internet. Thank you.
Yeah, but you weren't as loud as I was.
No, I know, Dad. They heard you in Cumberland. I know.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I was that angry, but then it all came to me, and I said, there is nobody in this room, including those people that were on stage with me, that ever lived through what we did. The paranormal community, they do investigations and so forth, but they never lived with it. That's a temporary thing when you do an investigation, and you do find the spirits are there. But my family, and I could tell you story after story after story, but and my kids could tell you these stories. Insofar as proof is concerned about Miss Norma, I was just talking with Keith Johnson earlier today, and he verified to me about the videos that we have of her when she was doing a school there for preschool kids. And as you all know, small children can see spirits, while we as adults don't see them quite so easily. So she ran that school, and And Keith videotaped it, and he's going to send that to me this week, about her talking about the little kids. She had like 16 kids that were in that house, and every day a child would look at her and say, "Miss Norma, who is that man over there? Who is that person over there?" And she just answered by saying, "Well, it's an old friend, but will disappear shortly." And the spirit would disappear. So we have all of this on tape so that we know what transpired. One of the things that happened to me was I learned that the spirits had feelings. And it's hard for me to tell this story, but I will tell it. This happened, about 3 years after we moved into the house. It took a long time for me to understand what the kids were going through. But this was the culmination of proving to me that it was true. I had just gotten home from a trip. There was no snow on this trip. I came home, and the first thing I did was I ran to the pantry and I took out some scallops. This friend of mine down the road used to go digging for scallops, the one in the shell, not the skate that they sell in restaurants. These were real scallops, and as sweet as sugar. I loved them. And I just decided I was going to cook something because I was hungry. I'd just driven about 4 hours. And I sat down at the table as I began to eat. My wife walked in and said, "Do you know what Monday is?" And I said, yeah, it's Labor Day. I'm not going to work, don't worry about it. And she just looked at me and said, "Yeah, I know it's Labor Day." I said, "What's the next day?" "It's the first day of school." So I says, "Yeah, okay, no problem." She says, "Well, the kids need shoes." So I says, "Okay, then we'll go get shoes." And she says, "Well, let's just go to the Little Red Shoe House in Webster and we'll get the shoes that we need for the kids." And I says, I'm so tired." I says, "Can't this wait till tomorrow?" And she says, "No, it can't wait." She said, "Don't worry." She says, you just take care of things here, enjoy your food and so forth." And she says, "I'll take them." Which she did. She took the kids, and all 6 of them walked out of the house. And as they walked out of the house, I heard footsteps in the cellar stairs. And I thought maybe they hadn't left yet, so I checked the driveway and the car was gone. Then all of a sudden, I sat back down and the cellar door opened. To any of you that have been in a house, you know there's a foyer right next to the kitchen. The foyer, you can see the front door, you can look into the foyer, and there's a staircase going up to Andrea's bedroom. There's a doorway going into the dining area, and there's a doorway to the cellar. And just then, the door to the cellar opened, and it opened about halfway, and I saw like a cloud, a mist type of thing, open and walk into the foyer. And it scared me for a second, and then I says, "Oh boy, it's the old lady trying to get to me," because I already knew who she was, and because we investigated it all. It was Mrs. John Arnold, and she had hung herself in the barn in 1797, and because her husband died, and she didn't want to live anymore. But anyway, she was the one that loved me and loved my kids, but really hated my wife, and that's why she went after her in every which way she could. But anyway, as the door opened up and I sat there, the door opened finally against the wall, and it slammed against the wall, and this thing so I kept saying to myself, "Oh boy, she's going to come to me, she's going to come to me." And I was expecting it, and I waited about 35, 40 minutes, right, and nothing was happening. So I was a very, very impatient individual in those days. The kids can attest to that.
Has changed.
So I just looked straight at it, right? And I says, "Okay, you old witch, either come and sit here and talk with me or get the hell out." And that door slammed. Oh my God, I kicked myself in the butt after that, because I had an opportunity to really wait for her and be able to communicate with one of the spirits, and I didn't do that. I was stupid. So that was the end of that. The door slammed and she left. She used to come to me daily and just run her hands across my back. And I tried every which way. I went into the basement. I apologized. I told her I was so sorry. I didn't mean to say what I said and so forth. Because I realized then that I hurt her feelings. And this went on for 5 to 6 months. She wouldn't come near me. Wouldn't come near me. And one day I was thirsty. I was in the kitchen, so I walked in the pantry to get a glass of water. And as I turned the faucet on, there was no water. I said, oh my God. You got to understand that in a whole house like that, the pump was a big wheel that, and it had a belt on it that would carry the water through the pump. And I stepped down the stairs and I looked over, and sure enough, the belt had come off the wheel, and it was laying in the dirt because we had a dirt cellar. And I started to figure out that maybe she had knocked the belt off to get me down there. So I went over and I stretched the belt and put it on the wheel. And as I put it on the wheel, I felt her hand go across my back. Wow. Incredible. And I feel it now like it was yesterday. It's been 40 years, and it still comes to me, it gets to me. And as she did that, I just says, you accept my apology? And I says, if you do that again. And she did it again. Wow. And that point, for the next 7 years, she was there every time I went down, but I knew to watch what I had to say, because it was going to hurt her feelings. And I don't believe anybody that I know has ever had that kind of a relationship with the spirit. So be it.
When they touch you, it becomes a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
You have a vested interest in them. You become almost part of them. It happened to me. It happened to my sister, Cindy, and I'll never forget it. The rest of my life, I will never forget it. When they touched my face and they touched my hair, and they said to us, oh my God, it's you, you're back. And this is when my sister Cindy and I went to visit after we had moved. It was approximately 5 years later, and we went to...
1996.
I don't remember what year it was.
16 years later.
All I know is that Cindy and I one day decided that we were going to go back and visit, and we headed up to Harrisville, and we knocked at the door, and Mrs. Sutcliffe answered the door, and she apparently had some things she had to do, but she was so interested in having us there that she decided to, give us a little bit of time to go in and see the house, and she had a lot of questions for us. And my sister and Cindy and I, we went from what was the woodshed into the summer kitchen, and we walked into the house, and all of a sudden, imagine yourself inside a balloon, and the balloon is blown up around you, and the air pressure is very intense around you. And at that point, they began touching my hair very gently and touching my face and saying to me, oh my God, it's you, you're back. And Mrs. Sutcliffe said to us, something is happening to you right now, isn't it? And I was embarrassed. I said no, but I could hear my sister Cindy say yes. And I didn't realize that she was in that so-called balloon with me. And Mrs. Sutcliffe told us at that point that she had been experiencing some paranormal activity in the house. Her husband had also been experiencing things, and friends of hers who had come to visit and stay overnight were also experiencing some things. So when this was happening to me, all I was trying to do was to figure out how I was going to explain to my sister when we left the house, being inside this bubble, this balloon with the air pressure so tight. And she gave us a tour of the house, and she asked us several questions about, an example of that was, where was your mother's bedroom? And we told her what room it was, and she said, okay, now that makes a lot of sense. We've had a lot of trouble with this room. And that's where the spirit had appeared to my mother and threatened my mother. But when we got out to the car, I won't say it. No, I'm not gonna say it. Okay. My sister turned to me and she said, did you feel that barrier field? And I said, that's what it was. Oh my God, that's what it was. And Cindy loves that word.
She uses it for
You'll hear it
punctuation.
often, yes, if you. But we started driving down the street when we were leaving. We went down to the bridge and the river, and we visited down there for a few minutes, and we headed out. We got in the van and we started down the road, and we were talking about it. And I said to her, honey, inside my head I kept hearing, oh my God, it's you, you're back. And she said, Nancy, she said, that is exactly what they were saying. And we got so shaken up that we pulled the van over to the side of the road and grabbed onto each other and cried. It was amazing. I'm done.
Thank you.
The fact is that the spirit that came to my mother had a broken neck, and Bathsheba died of a stroke, and she used archaic English that was already out of favor and use when Bathsheba was born. So, you know, some say it might have been Mrs. John Arnold. We'll never know. None of us will ever know for certain. We tried to share as much of our recollection of what we were told, of things that people told us, of the folklore of the area when we lived there, and amalgamate that into the story to the best of my ability. Some of it might be inaccurate, and we won't ever know. But what I do know for a fact is that we experienced something that I consider to be miraculous. And to know from your own sensory perceptions that there is absolutely something beyond our mortal existence is the most important thing I think that anyone can ever know or ever learn in this lifetime, because it liberates a soul to live fearlessly, to know they don't have to fear death, but that they have to live well so that they can pass on to the spirit realm, the realm from which we come and will inevitably return. What holds these spirits earthbound, we may never know. I really truly believe that everything is science, and this is just simply, you know, physics we don't understand yet, but inevitably we will. Eventually we will. I'm being told that we're running out of time here, but I want to invite everybody to, you know, come and greet us over at our table and answer or ask any other questions that you might have. We should be here for about another half an hour. And I deeply, deeply appreciate, on behalf of my father Roger and my sister Nancy, the opportunity to join all of you here at the Ocean State Paracon. It is hands down no competition, the best event that I go to anywhere in the country every year. And I love you all with all my heart, and thank you so much for coming.
Hi, I'm Ken DaCosta,
I'm Cody Ray-Despian.
and we'd like to talk to you a little bit about this year's Ocean State Paracon 2017 edition. Once again, it'll be held at the Assembly Theater in Harrisville, Rhode Island on July 15th and 16th. And we are looking forward to another successful year. Over the past 5 years, we've been able to raise over $15,000 for local Rhode Island charities and advocacy groups. And we have a lineup of guests again this year that's second to none anywhere. And we're going to be making more announcements as time goes on, as far as our special guests, as
still
far as
finalizing
our
things.
designated charity for this year, who the beneficiary is going to be. But there is a host of activities and different things that we do every year, and Why don't you run those down?
Absolutely. Well, first off, like Ken was mentioning, we have a great lineup of guests coming. Everybody volunteers their time. We also have a great lineup of vendors from all different professions, not only the paranormal, but all different things. We also have a really great amount of raffle items, all donated. It's really an impressive list. Anything you can imagine is probably involved in that raffle, from autographs, everything donated
Bruins
from
tickets,
businesses, sports tickets,
from
yep.
all the major sports teams and local businesses and just
Absolutely.
about everything you can think of, and trips on the Block Island Ferry and out
Oh yeah,
to
it's
Nantucket.
endless. Hundreds
It's
of items.
amazing. I've never seen a raffle like this, and through the generosity of all these people who donate it, it's a huge moneymaker for us every year.
And of course, everybody looks forward to our food trucks that we have every year. Really great food.
I know I do.
I do too. It's the talk of the event. Word spreads quickly on how good the food is. And we already have them signed on too. We have, Rocket Food Truck coming?
Rocket Food Truck, Elwood's Doghouse, Presto Strango Coffee.
Awesome.
Everyone out there. And we just call him the Iceman. This year, the Iceman cometh again this year. And when it hit 90, the Iceman actually was...
He probably could have retired after that event.
He was the most
sold a lot
popular
of
guy
ice.
there. Nobody even knew who we were anymore. They just wanted to know where the Italian ice was. So it's like the fact that I can't remember his name right now will come back to haunt me, but he'll be there again. So there's something for everybody. There's something for the whole family. Great speakers, great perspective on things, and very, very affordable and laid-back atmosphere, which we're very, very proud of more than anything. It's take your shoes off, walk through the grass, lie down on the front lawn of the place, whatever you want to do. It's that type of event. We don't rest on a lot of formality,
Right.
with this event, and I think that's what makes it kind of unique.
Yep. Indoor and outdoor too.
Yes.
We have the beautiful theater.
Paranormal Farmers Market.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even if you're not really into the paranormal, it's just a great place to come, have a good weekend, meet some new people. If you're interested in it, there's plenty of people there that have experienced different types of things and are absolutely willing to talk to you.
And you're going to help make a difference in someone's life as we continue to advocate for those people who have difficulty advocating for themselves. So it's something that we're proud of, and just the opportunity to give people a chance to come. As you said, if you build it, they will come. We built it back in 2012, and it's been well attended, and we can't say enough about the people who support this every year. So we're looking to do some good in the local community this year, so be there, just come, be there. I don't care where this is. Believe me, we got people from Italy, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana this year. They come from all over, so if you get a chance to come up here into the Northeast, join us.
It'll be worth it.
I'm telling you, I promise.
See you there.
I know you're here. Play it again, please.
I know you're here.
It's nice of them to let us know that. Okay, now the next one is, I gotta set this one up. It's a child screaming, and April 2007, I was conducting a tour of Slaterville for the main museum of Slaterville for a 5th grade class on their school field trip. Halfway through the tour, we were stopped when we heard the sound of a child scream. To me, it sounded like a little boy screaming in pain. A 9-year-old girl standing next to me said, "Did you hear that?" So I went around to see if one of the children had gotten away from the group, had got injured, or was playing a prank. No, they were all together. And 3 years later, that same scream was recorded. And when it's cleaned up, you can hear it saying, "I want my mama." But it's the same scream I and the class of 5th graders heard. Play that, please. Probably what's significant is we were standing in front of what's the noisiest and most dangerous machine in our collection, where they used to send the children in the back of the carriage, the traveling carriage, to repair thread that had broken. And so obviously children were sometimes crushed in that machine. And then the last one, they had an obelisk, which has a lexicon of 5,000 plus words, and supposedly a spirit can tap into that and make a response, give someone an indication that they are with us. And one of the investigators was saying, you know, there was somebody standing right here, or somebody right here, and then the obelisk says, "I am," says it in a mechanical voice. Play that one, please. Oh no, that's the bad word. I forgot that one was there. And a few of us were recording, and this is on Vimeo. You can go to his site and hear it. He had a ghost box which scans radio frequencies. So it went to 2 different channels, and I said to Greg, I said, why don't you ask if it knows any of us here? So Greg asked, do you know any of our investigators? And the ghost box jumped to 2 stations, and it went, yes, Carl Johnson. It was like a jingle. It goes, I don't have that with me, but if you do look up, you know, Oracle Paranormal Research Society and go to Vimeo, then you'll tool around, you'll find it. It's got it on YouTube. And it goes, yes, Carl Johnson. It's like a jingle or something. So, what do we know from all this? There's something. There's something. We don't know what, but we were also fortunate when I was, you've seen, I take it everybody here has seen the movie The Conjuring. You have, haven't you? No? What's wrong with you? Well, you are, you're in assembly. No. You know. And Andrea Perron has produced and performed in many productions, musicals, plays here. Well, that proceeded from a real life case that actually transpired in August, September, and October. Let's see, it was back in 1973. I was 4.5 years old at the time. No, I was a little older than that, but yeah. Sorry, Donna. Yeah. But my dear friend Donna was case manager of a group based at Rhode Island College called Perron. Parapsychology. We used to say parapsychology instead of paranormal, by the way. Parapsychology Research and Investigation. Well, Parapsychology Investigation and Research Organization, PIRO. And we were invited to explore this farmhouse in Harrisville. It was owned by the Perron family, Roger and Carolyn Perron. My brother, this was before internet usage, only the CIA had internet back then.
Well, thank you for watching this episode of Ghost Star Near. God bless. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.
The shadow knows.